Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 1:01, so without further ado, my name is Lisa Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Retail National Accounts here at Newview Trust Company, and today we have Charles Sells, who's going to talk to us about how to find off-market deals to add to your portfolio. Do want to start by saying that Newview, we are not attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors. We are a non-fiduciary. So everything that's provided today is strictly for educational purposes. We do encourage you to consult with your professionals and do your due diligence as well. Newview, we are a custodian. We custody over $1.4 billion in assets. We've been in business for 17 years. And we have close to 50 employees here in our Longwood, Florida office. And what we strive for is making sure that our clients do business with us and we make it as simple as possible, that we are available for you and responsive. So much so that in our staff meeting every Monday morning, we do talk about the prior week, and we consistently meet at least 98% of the time. We answer the phone with a live person. So we're very proud of that, and we look forward to servicing you as well. Oops, sorry. So today's presentation is going to be delivered by Charles Sells, and he is with the PIP Group. And just to give a short biography here, Charles Sells began his career investing in tax liens at the age of 23. And like many of us, he was enticed by the simplicity and profitability often conveyed in popular coaching programs and weekend workshops. However, experience taught him that success required more than a simple snap of the fingers. So at age 26, Charles went ahead and started his own business. Fast forward 20 years, and the PIP Group has transacted hundreds of millions of dollars in distressed real estate investments on behalf of nearly 1,000 investors worldwide. Charles and his team at the PIP Group have taken the stress out of investing in distressed real estate, and they enabled investors to have their individual investments remain in their name and their control. So without further ado, here is Charles.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, guys. Yes, I don't have to introduce myself anymore, so we'll just jump right into it. We're talking about off-market deals and distressed real estate. When I got my start, as she mentioned, I got started in tax liens, and that essentially just grew my business into everything distressed. So we're more or less talking about, today we're talking about using tax liens as off-market deals. We're also talking about acquiring properties in other methods as well, and how we're able to do what we're able to do. So we'll get right into it. As it was mentioned, whoop, those slides are moving on their own now. Hold on just a second. So as it was mentioned, you know, those how-to programs that are out there, they are meant to obviously pitch you high returns, get rich quick, and I learned very quickly that wasn't the case. Off-market real estate is not sexy. It's not million-dollar homes. It's not a very sexy business to be in, but the distressed real estate can be very profitable. It does take a lot of work. We've all heard the commercials of, you know, do this, flip homes in your spare time using other people's money. That's just not how it works. So we're going to give you a little bit of the reality of the situation. It's not easy, as I said. It does require full time, and it is a lot of work. You know, you can get yourself into some sticky situations if you're not careful. So where are the deals? How do we find our deals? We find our deals in a lot of different methods, actually. There's a lot more places than just, let's say, a live auction that you can go to. Although we do attend the auctions all the time. We're at the auctions every month. Due to COVID, the inventory has been down. But because we're in a lot of different other methodologies of how we acquire real estate, we're still actually doing better than we were pre-COVID shutdown. What you're looking at here, though, is a picture of a live auction in Savannah, Georgia. Those yellow arrows I have there are each people that are auctioning off properties. So you see 4 auctions essentially going on at the same time. Now, 2 of these guys, the guy in the blue shirt and the handsome fella there, the bald guy there, they're nobody's standing around them, but they're actually reading off the legalese for a property. It just happens that nobody's interested in what they have that day, but they still have to go to the courthouse and read off this and try to offer it for purchase. State of Georgia, these auctions happen the first Tuesday of every month. And again, you know, there's multiple auctions going on at the same time. This is one of the big ways that we acquire our real estate, and this is off market. These auctions happen rain or shine. So, you know, when you're out there and this is in Savannah, Georgia, when you're out there in, you know, August or geez, I mean, this month has been pretty crazy already, you know, even though it's just early in the start, but, you know, 110 degrees with, you know, the heat index in there, and then it's hot. But rain or shine, you're out there bidding in these auctions. So again, it's not easy, but it can be profitable. Another great place, another great resource for our off-market property is probate court. Now, probate can be very slow, and it does, again, it takes a lot of effort. But once you get probate into your pipelines, it's essentially, if you're doing, let's say you want to do 5 deals a year, you may not get your first probate deal for a year. But you know, once you get started, they'll fall in line, if you will, and they'll be in your pipeline consistently, so you can, you know, more or less pick and choose. This is just a snapshot of some probates that we had a couple of months ago, and these were just essentially offerings that we could pick and choose from, and we did pick out a few of these and moved forward on them. But this is just gives you an idea of how the probates work. If you go back to the recording and you want to actually look at some of these, you know, pause the screen and just for sake of fun, to go look up what it is we're acquiring and you know, see the grand scale of what we're doing, because we're all over the map. We do homes that we buy for $10,000. And we've done multi-million-dollar deals. So we're all over the map as far as you know, the type of properties we're acquiring right now. Another great place, and what is probably our biggest method of acquiring off-market properties, is canvassing or skip tracing. You might have heard it called driving for dollars, cash for keys. It's got a lot of different terminology, but essentially what we're doing is we're looking at properties that we're already working on. We're looking at everything that's around it. Is it occupied? Is it vacant? Is it boarded up? You know, does it look distressed? And then we will go through the process of actually reaching out to the owners, doing all the due diligence that's involved in that, and essentially just trying to put a deal together. So we can purchase their property, get them out from under the headache, and move on, so they don't have to pay any more taxes. Lenders and wholesalers. Again, I showed you the auctions. Wholesalers are a bit of a gamble. There's a lot, they seem to have just popped out of the woodworks. I'd say maybe of all the wholesalers out there, maybe 5% are legitimate, knowledgeable wholesalers. But they do have good deals if you can find them. And lenders are also not just at the auctions, but they're also doing a lot of things online as well. So there's a lot of online auctions that you can go to. You can just Google real estate auction, and you'll find Zoom, auction.com, Realty Bid. There's a lot of them out there where you can go and just do all your due diligence and your research, and you can buy off-market properties online. This is an example of a wholesale deal we did have success with. Because we've been in the business so long, we do have good wholesalers that are out there. And how do they acquire their properties? They're doing the same thing we are. They're skip tracing and canvassing the area. They're driving for dollars. It's a lot of work, so sometimes they get to it first before we do, but we'll buy it from them. And essentially, they just mark it up about 10%. So we purchased this one for $50,000. Oh, I've got my slides out of place here. Here's your auction.com. If you want to take a snapshot of the screen real quick, these are auctions that you can go to online. They always have inventory going on. And again, it's anything from a $5,000 home to, we bought one on Hubzu 2 years ago for $2.2 million. So it's everything and in between. Tax distressed is also a really good method of acquiring property off market and for steep discounts. As I mentioned, that's how I got started in this business to begin with, was buying tax liens and managing tax liens. So tax distress can be a good way of acquiring. It does take more time to get the property. I feel tax liens actually have a little more risk than fix and flips or buy and holds, because you're relying on that taxpayer to either pay off their taxes or not pay off their taxes. But let's look at where I got started in this. I got started in Georgia, which is a hybrid lien auction. The reason it's called a hybrid lien auction is because you go to the auction and you're buying a tax lien, but they're actually giving you a tax deed to the property. Now you can't do anything with that tax deed. You have to hold on to it and give them the right to redeem those taxes. The beautiful thing about it is they pay 20% whether they pay the first month or the 12th month. And they only have 1 year to redeem it. And then you can start the foreclosure process. Premium bids earn the full penalty, which we're going to talk about premium bids. That's essentially, if I buy a tax lien for $100,000, the taxes may have started out at $2,600. So if the taxes were sold, taxes advertised were $2,600, and then I actually bought it for $105,000 because it's a $175,000 home, the premium bid on that is $102,400. My 20% is earned on the total. So we're talking about acquiring properties off market and quickly to do your traditional flips, that sort of thing. Hybrid liens are a great way to, if you will, start small, because you're going to get a great penalty out of it, or you're going to get the property. It's one of those two things going to happen. Yes, you have to hire an attorney and go through the legal processes to do it, but that 20% is earned on your total investment, not just the taxes advertised. So you're going to get 20% on your $105,000 essentially. So if it redeems, great, you made 20%. If it doesn't, great, you got a house for 60, 70 cents on the dollar. So that's essentially how I got my start in acquiring real estate was in Georgia tax sales. Secondary market tax liens and pre-deeds are also a great way to acquire property. There's two types of buyers in the tax lien markets. There's individual tax buyers that are interested in acquiring property. There's institutional buyers that are interested in just that lien. They don't want to take on the REO or the liability of owning the asset or the property. So they offload these on secondary markets. So there's places you can go, websites that offer the purchase of secondary market tax liens that are essentially ready for foreclosure. Pre-deeds is essentially the same thing, but you take it a step further. So in order to protect their interest, institutional buyers, they need to go ahead and initiate the foreclosure process, but they still might not want the property itself because, again, they consider that a liability to them. So what they'll do is they'll take it through all those steps, and it may have made it all the way through, but they haven't initiated that last trigger to record that deed. So you can come in and essentially buy the property for the cost of the lien, their legal costs, and any back taxes and whatnot. And then you have the property within 30 to 35 days, not deeds. So those are examples of really good ways that you can acquire off-market properties. Now let's just step through what this particular foreclosure looks like. So we've talked about all the methods that we use to acquire off-market properties. And I have a question coming up here, and I will answer it as soon as we get to the very end. And by all means, put all your questions into the Q&A box. We're going to wrap up here really shortly, and I know everybody's going to have a lot of questions. So make sure you get your questions in there. But I will make sure to talk about pre-deeds a little more detailed when we get to questions. So this was a wholesale deal, and we're just going to step through what we did with this particular wholesale deal. It was $50,000. It was your typical, green shag carpet, brown appliances, yellow countertops. Again, it's not sexy, but what we're talking about is profitable. When you get to the end, you turn this thing around and you get it out and you get it sold. So down in the left-hand corner, you see our before and then you see our after. This property stayed on the market 2 days after we got it listed. This is what we did to the kitchen, just really modernized everything. And in other broadcasts, and I'd point that out now too, all of our education is free. We don't have a subscription or anything like that. We talk in a lot of detail about our fix and flips, the fact that we use certain colors on all our projects, how that can save you money as well. So I would encourage you to go look at those too. But just modernizing the property. In this particular one, I'm sharing this with you guys because it's not, everything's a moving target. It's not always black and white when you get into a property, and that goes for us too. When we bought this one, we knew it had this garage, and initially it's like, all right, we'll just paint the garage, it'll be a garage. When we got into it though, we discovered that over here by this blue tub, it actually had plumbing. So that gave us an opportunity to turn that property, for a much better profit. So what we've got in there and we did was we closed off the garage. For some reason it keeps stopping on me. We closed off the garage and turned it into a mother-in-law suite. Slides are going crazy, I'm sorry, that's not me. So we turned it into a mother-in-law suite. So we essentially, because it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, we almost doubled the living space of the property for very little investment, little extra effort. So as you can see, the circle here I have in red, that's where the garage was. The red above it is where that wall was. And it's a really nice, really large in-law suite again. Quite honestly, if I own this property, this is probably where I would stay and leave the screaming kids in the main house. But that's essentially how it all plays out. Now, we love working with SDIRAs, and one of the reasons we love working with them is because usually they are passive investors that are just essentially scared of the stock market as much as I am. If you're working with a service provider similar to PIP, it enables you better chances of doing things that you may not be able to do on your own. For example, if this was your particular investment and you had $62,000 in your IRA, and you still would have done really well on this investment without fixing up the garage, you still would have made a really good return on flipping that particular property because you bought it right. I always say everything works if you buy right. So if you bought it right, you still would have been able to do great. If you work with a servicing agent, they may see things that you don't necessarily see. And that's like the plumbing in the garage. And they'll take advantage of that opportunity on your behalf and essentially just wash it out on the end. You may not actually even see what's going on, and it's just done on your behalf. Sometimes the IRA may be limited to how much potential it can provide, but you can actually get out there and do something with a servicing agent, which may provide you more opportunity. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. I know there's only 3 questions so far. So by all means, get in the Q&A. I see some chat, but let's go back and talk about the first question was, where did it go? Yes, the recording is going to be sent to you guys. In-law suite, how many square feet was added? It was about an extra 800 square feet was added. Let's get in the chat here. Maybe that's where the other questions are. Okay, so pre-deeds. Let's talk about pre-deeds. That was the first one that popped up. Pre-deeds, an institutional tax buyer, his buying power, because they leverage their capital, is based on the amount of REO they hold or don't hold. In order for them to be more successful, they need to have less REO, i.e. properties. So what they do is in order to protect their interests, they have to push the properties through the foreclosure process, but they still don't want to take on that REO. So they'll advertise and offer those properties for sale to somebody who does want the property and does want the REO. So that's essentially what it is you're buying it right before you pay that last cost to the court to record the deed. Liz, feel free to jump in here and help with these questions if you want. What are the name of your colors? Are those 5-inch baseboards and door casings? That's very observant of you. Yes, what we use a Behr brand. It's called light French gray. We use that on all of our properties. We use flat paint because it hides imperfections and gets you out of there quicker. Yes, again, it's being recorded. Are you only in Georgia? No. So tax lien investments, we're heavy in Illinois. Hybrid liens in Georgia, yes, we are. But fix and flips have been so good in Georgia that we've been focusing most of our attention on the flips in Georgia. Because of what's going on with COVID and the potential of what's coming down in the economy and the housing market, we expect we'll be back in hybrid liens pretty soon, as well as doing a lot of buy and hold investments as well. What else we have here? Opportunities in Florida. That's a great question. So opportunities in Florida, yes, they are, but Florida is really primarily an institutional state, if you will. For tax liens, definitely it's all institutional, but Florida does have a very unique property tax system. So they sell tax liens, but they also have those liens resold at another auction as a tax deed auction. So all those institutional buyers, they're hoping that those liens are picked up by tax deed buyers. Now the caveat to Florida is they're very sneaky about tacking on a lot of the code enforcement type liens after the fact. So you have to be very careful and do a lot of due diligence on acquiring tax default real estate in Florida. As far as fix and flips in Florida, we don't do a lot of it because, again, there's a lot of institutional buyers that do it. I always tell investors that we focus on markets that are not targeted by institutional investors, i.e. Atlanta, Dallas, San Antonio. You want to kind of be on the outside of the cusp from those. So Florida is just not, it's not there for us. So the market we are in right now, our biggest market right now is Savannah, Georgia. We're also in parts of North Carolina. But Savannah is after COVID, we are really reeling everything back into Savannah, Georgia, because we control that market. We are the biggest buyer in that market. Yeah, so we're not in Florida, but we're heavy in Georgia. No, not flat paint on baseboards. Oil-based white gloss on baseboards. Flat on walls. These are fun. No, we're not doing funding deals with just IRAs, but IRAs definitely represents probably 70% of our client base. Oh, now I got a bunch over in Q&A. Liz, you just let me know if you want to jump in on this.
It's fine. I don't want to touch the screen because I know you can see the questions on that side. So let me know if I can help.
Okay. Recorded, yes. How much is the program? Square feet added. So Martin, so yes, pretty much right now we are only buying in Savannah. And again, all our broadcasts are free and you can find them on our website and on our YouTube channel. And there's a very extensive educational webinar. There's no sales in that as well. That explains why we like Savannah and why we stay out of other markets. You don't want to invest in your backyard. You want to invest where you're going to make money. And with today's technology, it's very easy to do that. And we've all still got kind of this old school mentality that you need to be on top of your investment, so it needs to be close to home. That's just not the case. Validate, verify particular. So validate and verifying a particular wholesaler that's high quality and knowledgeable. It's hard. It's hard because again, it's a fraction of what's out there, and the reason is because a lot of these folks have bought these programs that we discussed at the very beginning that explain this get rich idea of it's called an assignment contract. So essentially, they go to a homeowner. And they say, here's $500 today. Can I try and sell your property over the next 30 days for X? And then they mark up that assignment contract and try to offload it to folks like us. So the best way to vet them is understand how many deals they've done, see if they've actually already selected an attorney for the closing, and then contact that attorney. The other thing that's very important, because even good wholesalers that come through to us, they'll send us their assignment contract, and all that's saying is that we're taking over the contract for X amount of dollars that he has in place with the homeowner. But if they don't share the contract that they have with the homeowner, it's like buying a car sight unseen. You don't know what you're buying. That assignment contract could mean anything. It could mean you're just buying a quitclaim deed. So you need to have the assignment contract in front of you, and you also need to see what that wholesaler's deal is. Sometimes they don't want you to see that because they don't want you to see how much they've marked up that property. But good for them, because if it's still a good deal for you, if you think you're still buying right, then they've done a good job of what they do. So as far as validating and vetting them, it's hard, but if you check with the closing attorney if that's available, if you by all means always look at the contract they actually have with the homeowner, then you can certainly vet the process down pretty well. Buy property, just land via tax deed. There's a lot of land. I will tell you there is a website. So we're talking about buying land via tax deeds, just buying land. If you reach out to me, Stephanie, I can give you the contact of a guy that buys most of the land via tax deed around the country. We don't do it, but depending on the state that you're interested in, he probably has it. He's a very big land buyer. All he buys is tax distressed land, and he buys it from all the institutional buyers. Let's see. Janet, yes, reach out to me. I don't want this to get too advertorial, so we can definitely talk. My email is charles@pipgroup.com. So absolutely reach out to me and we can talk. Where can we find tax liens, and are there tax liens you will obviously avoid? So Kevin, depends on the state. They're always advertised for sale at least 90 days prior to the sale in your local paper. A lot of them advertise on the county website, so your tax collector's website. So they're pretty easy to find. If you're talking about secondary, there are some companies that specialize in just secondary tax liens. And yes, of course, there's liens to avoid. We don't buy anything industrial. We're very choosy on commercial. We focus primarily on single family residential. There's going to be and will continue to be a ton of retail that is going to be in the tax lien space. I would obviously avoid that at all costs. We've all become Amazon shoppers, so that commercial space is going to disappear pretty quickly. So that is something I would avoid. Obviously landlocked, be very careful of those kind of things. So there are certainly a lot of things that you do need to avoid. But really it's just common sense. Don't buy something that you think could potentially be a liability for you. Sometimes we buy liens that the houses are distressed or dilapidated, but they've got value if we can acquire them down the road. But again, that can be risky because the town may come in while you have no right to the property, and they may start tacking on liens for boarding it up, or even tear it down, and you're then left with essentially the land, if you will, at a substantial cost. All right, some of these questions, guys, you're just going to have to email me directly. Probate leads. Okay. Probate leads, there are a few companies out there that make your life a lot easier. Again, just like with tax liens, probate leads are available in your local paper. So they're always going to be in the legal section. They're always run for a considerable amount of time. However, if you just put in there in Google search probate leads, there are a few companies out there that make your life a lot easier. There is a cost to it, but it's not bad. I think for our Savannah probate leads, it's about $600 a year. But it just makes our life a lot easier, so we don't have to go through all the headache of finding out where it is and understanding the next of kin and all of that. How do you find wholesalers? We talk about vetting wholesalers. So where do you find them? Social media, honestly, is the best place to start. And it's also a good way to vet them. I didn't mention that earlier, but if you just start, kind of creeping their social media pages, the good ones will show up and speak in the proper terms and logic. There's 1,000 wholesaler pages out there, and when you see one that's asking a question, how do I calculate after repair value? Well, that's clearly somebody you don't want to talk to. But if you see somebody that's consistently posting properties again and again and again and again on that page, that's somebody that knows what they're doing. But social media is where we started, and now because we do in such volume, now they come to us. Yes, flat paint on ceilings, Greg. On average, how long do you typically have a property on purchase, flip, and resale? So our goal is 9 to 12 months. Let me tell you how we get there. So if we buy the property at an auction, and we buy it in July, we're likely not even going to have the deed to that property until October. So we're not going to touch that property until we have a deed. Once that happens, then we're going to do repairs. Repairs are going to take anywhere from 45 to 90 days. So now we're already 6 months into it, and then call it another 3 to sell it. We all know that there's a sales season, which is usually spring, early summer. So depending on when you got started in the process, we may be waiting for that season, which is why we say 9 to 12 months. And as investors yourselves, that should be a number that you keep yourself affirmed to as well, regardless of whether you're using an SDRA, cash, or you're leveraging hard money. Hard money is due at 9 or 12 months. So you need to make sure that you're within those boundaries, but also expect that you're going to be very close to hitting those boundaries as well. Yes, there's going to be the occasional time that you get in there, it's perfect, it's clean, you just need to brush it up a little bit, but those are rare circumstances. So always expect it's going to be 9 to 12 months in and out. Yes, we have a lot of examples that we can provide offline. No, Derek, the mother-in-law suite did not add any time to the project hold time due to the permitting. It did not. Again, and that has a lot to do with just us being a big buyer. It may have impacted you if you had done it, but permitting for us is relatively quick because they all know what we're doing. They know the levels that we're doing them at, who our GCs are, and everything else. So it could impact you as an individual, but no, it did not in this case. Hector, off-market multifamily deals are awesome. but they're very rare. We do love them. Every time one comes through our pipeline, we jump all over it. But you know, in 100 properties a year, we may come up with 2 or 3 multifamily. They're just, everybody wants them, and it's only going to get more high in demand as you know, the housing market makes its adjustment and rentals become more and more in demand. Favorite properties to purchase. 3-2s are obviously always the bread and butter. Again, in other educational things I do, you know, I talk about the type of properties that we like. We like first-time homebuyer properties. We don't like glitz and glam. We want to be in and out quickly. So we're not buying properties that we have to think about granite, or we have to think about putting in you know, a Viking range versus a Whirlpool range. We want properties that, you know, we're acquiring for $100,000 and we're moving them out the door for $160,000. So 3-2s are great, but always be looking at first-time home buyers. Also always be looking at properties that if the market's going to change, which it's going to, but we just don't know how much. You want to be acquiring properties that if flipping becomes a problem, like it did in the last recession for a little while, that they're still going to cash flow really well as a rental. So again, if you're in that 100 to 140,000 range, that's going to cash flow pretty well all day long. So that's something to keep in mind is you don't want to be buying, you know, $250,000, $300,000 properties that you think you're going to flip. I can tell you right now, the ones that I have bought personally for myself, those are not moving. Everything that we buy for less than $100,000, those are still moving extremely well. We had our busiest month in April that we've ever had because people are either bored at home or just looking to make a change. I mean, more New Yorkers and people from New Jersey have moved down to our area in the last 3 months than I think they have in the last 3 years. But they're also all buying the single family, you know, lower to low middle income type homes. So keep that in mind. Seller finance deals. Yes, we do some seller finance deals with our tax lien. So question is for Mike, do you guys ever do seller finance deals, or is it mostly all cash? We do in our tax default property portfolios. Not anything with the fix and flips. Fix and flips are primarily all cash deals. And I think that wraps it up. I think I've gotten all 25 questions here answered. Let me just go back to the chat. Mari's, no, we're not in Columbus, Georgia, but we have been eyeing that market. It looks like it has some potential. And the rest of them, you guys just have to reach out to me in order for me to answer those.
Well, thank you so much, Charles. We appreciate it. We appreciate your time today, and we appreciate all the questions and the activity. If you have any questions in regards to self-directed IRAs or how we would be able to fit in with this, you can give us a call at the number there. You can take a screenshot, or you can text us if you'd like to know more information and get an e-guide. And we appreciate you being here today. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time and the opportunity.
Bye.
Bye-bye.